bum, 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 and sneak in through the window. Be quiet.
Brenton, what are you doing in my room at 2 a.m?
Oh, I'm ready to record.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think 1 week I should just leave in my little theme song, like just,
I think so too.
Just to hear the listeners just be like, "Oh man, what a tune!"
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter.
Welcome.
You know that Spike podcast where we talk about films that are older than 20 years, and we tell you whether they're worth still watching today or whether they're worth grabbing that DVD case and putting it in a secure vault that has pressure pads on the floor, has lasers in the air conditioning vents, and has a temperature gauge as well.
We talk about these movies and we decide whether they're good or they're going into that vault. So
yeah.
Thank God you've got one in your basement, Brenton, don't we all?
Oh, thank God, Emerald City is in there, safe and sound.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. kind of hoping someone would steal it at this point, just like get it out of there, like.
Hey, and you know the thing about Emerald City was that film was set in Sydney.
It was, wasn't it, Brenton? Other films we're talking about today is one of them set in Sydney.
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar it is.
Brenton, what a special week.
What a special week, because
this is so special.
This marks the 20-year anniversary, 20 years, of Mission Impossible 2. A film that I've never seen.
Landmark.
A film I've never seen in my life, but here we are.
No, until today, Brenton, until today.
I've famously stated on this podcast that I have not seen any of the Mission Impossibles apart from
the best one.
apart from the last one that came out. So here we are, and we decided to do a double bill, you know what I mean?
Because it's been a while.
In order to watch 2, I had to watch 1. So we decided to do Mission Impossible 1, released in, Mission Impossible as it was released. They didn't call it Mission Impossible 1 when it came out.
It'd be a bit presumptuous, wouldn't it?
Mission Impossible released in 1996, directed by Brian De Palma, who also directed Carrie, you know, that classic, and also Scarface, that other classic. Yeah.
Like a really established and acclaimed director.
Yeah, and then
he
directed
Mission Impossible 1.
Mission Impossible 1. And we're also talking about Mission Impossible 2, which was released 4 years later in 2000, directed by John Woo, who also directed, I don't know if you've ever, this is the time where Brenton gets to suggest a film for the podcast.
Oh, good.
Face Off.
I have not seen Face Off.
Neither have I, with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. That I know the premise. I know that it's a wild ride, and if Mission Impossible 2 is anything to go by, it was released before Mission Impossible 2, so maybe he got the job because he made Face Off.
Because of Face Off.
Who knows?
Oh yeah, because they have face masks in these, so maybe that's why.
Nathan, you read my mind.
So you say we should do Face Off for the podcast, because I'm all for that.
I'm all for doing Face Off on the podcast at some point. That was released in 1997, so
beautiful.
It's 20 years older.
Yeah.
You know,
wonderful.
it's eligible.
Come on in, Face Off. Take a seat. Take a Face Off.
We can finally. It might actually be the prequel to Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh my God! Now that would be beautiful. Like that's what led to Nicolas Cage's alcoholism.
Could you imagine that Nicolas Cage in Face Off is actually John Travolta?
Just like that'd be incredible. And he's the one who developed the technology for IMF.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's it.
It all Hey, we're gonna talk about some cinematic universes later on. So
we are. Listeners, stay tuned. This is going to be a train ride of an episode.
Because we really do have to get into this, because otherwise we're going to be here for hours. Because
we're going to be here for a while. We've got a lot of shit to chew through, but it's going to be great, listeners. Bloody make a cup of tea, sit down. We've got our teas and coffees ready to go.
Mate, it's a crisp morning. So Nathan's got his. What type of coffee are you drinking?
Not Moccona or Nestle, as we as we deduced the other day. I have no clue actually. This is just the generic kind of jar that we've got of coffee kind of grinded in the house that we just kind of scoop and put in. So I have no clue.
Good on you, man.
What are you drinking, mate?
I'm drinking chamomile.
That's how you do a Sunday morning here on the podcast.
You know it. Nathan, do you have a question for me?
I do, Brenton. Can you please pitch for me? Oh, Brenton, pitch for me. Mission Impossible 1 and 2. Can you pitch me the movie?
Nathan, have you ever heard of the special force team Mission Impossible?
What is it? The Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah, exactly.
The IMF, as it
were. The IMF.
No, Brenton. I haven't heard that dumb as fuck name.
Neither had I until I saw Mission Impossible 1. Nathan, the IMF is in Oh god, where are they? I think they're in Prague or something at this Prague. I think at the start of.
Oh yeah, they're doing a mission in Prague.
Yeah. They're doing a mission in Prague. I'm not actually sure what the mission is.
I think they're gonna get a list of agents or something like that.
It's something like that. It's like a kill list or something.
Yeah. Which every bloody spy mission's about. Like they're about to get compromised.
They're getting a list. The dude from the Breakfast Club's there. It's a great time.
Jesus. My favorite movie. He's back, complaining about adolescence again.
I actually have so many like references to sequels and prequels this episode as well from like other films that could work out.
Drag them in. They're all welcome.
That's one of them. But anyway, so the team's there. They're going through the lifts. They're using their it's like also like maybe a prequel to that cult classic film, The Master of Disguise, because there's lots of disguises. there's lots of spy behavior. Not much guns shooting and whatnot. It's not like James Bond where we're like we're whipping out the guns every 2 seconds.
It's proper stealth. Like
I wouldn't call it proper stealth, but it's stealth.
Well, no, it's not Assassin's Creed. But are you about to reveal how the mission went in that opening scene?
I think I have to. Like I think I'm not gonna
because it's a wonderful surprise when that happens.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say that things go awry.
They do go awry.
And it turns out that our main character, Tom Cruise, also known as Ethan Hunt, may be framed for something that went wrong. And he has to figure out...
Ethan Hunt?
Exactly, Nathan.
He has to walk around Toontown and get help from Roger Rabbit.
Him and Roger Rabbit have to work out who framed them.
I would pay all the money to see a Roger Rabbit sequel where it's Tom Cruise and Roger Rabbit. That would be amazing.
It would be fantastic. But anyway, he has to basically figure out who framed him for this, who was the actual perpetrator of this heinous act.
It was Christopher Lloyd again.
And he goes from there, and that's basically Mission Impossible 1. There's not much else to say, but there's lots of thrilling elements such as
actually we'll get to title talk about the impossible missions, but yes,
such as impossible missions and breaking into vaults and train fights and
we go all over the world like a Bond movie.
It's everywhere, man. Which leads us on to Mission Impossible 2. That's Mission Impossible 1. Oh, are you feeling the vibes? Mission Impossible 2. So basically, obviously, there's a sequel. So Ethan Hunt's still living.
He's okay,
and he's hanging out, climbing some cliffs. Climbing some mountains.
Iconic. I'm so glad you finally get that reference now. Because when we saw Fallout, I was like, he climbs a cliff. Now you know.
Yeah, so he's just hanging out, he's climbing stuff, and turns out that the coronavirus is coming. And
oh no! How timely from a film from the 2000s. What clairvoyance.
And guess where it started? Some Russian scientist has made it in Australia, in Sydney of all places.
No, we're the culprits. We started at Brenton.
And so basically the IMF has to get this human created disease, and they got to get it and keep it safe, because otherwise, if that gets out, oh gosh.
Oh no, South by Southwest would be cancelled again.
I know, and like people would be buying toilet paper, and it'd be crazy, and like we'd be in crisis mode. So they got to put a stop to that, and but it turns out that the agent they sent wants to be a bit of a warmonger. And take that vaccine and take that disease for himself and sell it off to the highest bidder so he can be on top when the world collapses from the virus that was created in Sydney, Australia.
Of course. Because no one would ever get suspicious about, suddenly having the cure as this device. So
Ethan Hunt's, for some reasons, the only guy that can take this guy down because they have a history, apparently. And that's all I can really say about it. And he has to employ a spy, but not actually for her skills, but because she slept with the rogue agent once.
Oh my god, Tandy Newton's in this. What a time.
Oh, he's got a new haircut as well. He grew his hair out.
Oh yeah. I think the staple of these films as we go through the series is the different haircuts Tom Cruise has, because he gets a new one every movie.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited now.
It's very exciting. And you've seen Tom Cruise hair in Mission Impossible 1, 2 and 6. So it's not a straight curve, it's going up. It goes up and down depending on the movie.
Is there ever a mohawk?
There's never a mohawk, but easily Tom Cruise number 2 is the best Tom Cruise hair in all the movies.
Nathan, let's get into it. What do you think of Mission... Let's talk about Mission Impossible 1 first, because obviously it's the first film.
Brad, Mission Impossible 1, what did you think?
I had a good time. I had a wild, good... I had such a fun time.
I think across the board, it's impossible to not have fun with these movies, regardless of the entry.
Exactly. There's not much character growth. There's not much actual character. Like, if you were to list, like, the things about Ethan Hunt that make him an interesting character, I don't even know what you'd say. Like, I genuinely have no idea what sets him apart.
And that's like a real issue with all of these movies, that they all kiss Tom Cruise's ass way too much. He's just godlike for no reason.
Yeah, like I just feel like he doesn't even have an identity really. But Tom Cruise is a strong enough actor. Yes, I think I like Tom Cruise. I've always liked Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise too.
I know he's a bit of a wild character off the screen, and that's like I agree with that totally. But I think on screen, I think he's got a real presence, and I think he does his work. He knows his shit. He knows how to hit his marks in a way that and he knows his eye lines as well in a way that is always just interesting to watch. So I like Tom Cruise. I think he's always solid.
And I think like today especially, he's one of probably the last movie stars that is generally in the sense a proper full-fledged movie star, where like his name truly carries a movie no matter what the project is.
He brings people to the cinema. It's crazy.
Yeah, like he's one of those few humans left that can do that.
Let's not talk about The Mummy actually, because that's probably the only case recently that's kind of.
Did you see The Mummy?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I've seen The Mummy.
Oh, have you?
You know what?
Have you seen a mummy?
Good in The Mummy. I've seen them. Oh, I've seen The Mummy, man. both the original and this. And you know what? He's good in The Mummy. I allege. Also, The Mummy's not that bad. Everyone's shouting it when it came out. It's fine.
Isn't there a scene where okay, spoilers for The Mummy, but isn't there a scene where Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde like fucking loses his shit like at a point?
Oh yeah, and he fights Tom Cruise. It's like halfway through the movie.
Is it hilarious? Is it great?
It's amazing. It's so funny because like in The Mummy, fuck Mission Impossible. Let's talk about The Mummy. Because in The Mummy, like there's a scene where like Tom Cruise meets Russell Crowe, and they're basically at Shield, like the monsters version of Shield. And it's run by Russell Crowe because someone thought that'd be a good idea, having like Dr. Jekyll and as the leader of like Monster Shield. And as he's walking about the lab, and he's like, "Oh look, here's like the vampire skull, and like here's like the thing from the Black Lagoon scales." And he's like, "Look, we're gonna make a cinematic." Literally, that's a scene in the movie. He's like, "We're gonna make a cinematic universe."
Is it like that scene in the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yes, in Oscorp.
Where they're walking down Oscorp, and it's like Doc Ock's arms are there, the Vulture's wings are there, some other the Goblin Glider's there. There's some other
the Venom
shit.
Goo's just flicking about. Like,
It's exactly that scene. But it's literally Academy Award winning actor Russell Crowe like narrating it all.
Oh my God.
Check out this. Do you remember that? Remember Dracula? I kind of wish that universe had happened. Just because
I know, just to see Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, just like just to see, because they had a great cast as well. But like, God,
I don't know. Like, it was such a stupid idea at the same time.
It was so stupid.
That of course it was never going to work. Like, whoever at Universal thought that was the idea that was going to take that studio forward into like the superhero era was a fucking idiot.
They were absolutely moronic.
I don't need to see the creature from the lagoon like ever in my life again. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
I don't need to see like maybe Channing Tatum like don the scales and like be fucking around in some pond.
Jeez.
You know, actually no. Now I say that I kind of want to see.
Yeah, you want to see that project, don't you? I just want to see what a dumpster fire it would have been. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not going into this with good intentions. Like
I know. That's why I have like no malice against like the DCEU. I'm glad these things exist. Like
exactly.
Like, they're just great to watch. But like they get to the end of like the table, and Russell Crowe's like, "Oh, what do you think of all my things?" And then Tom Cruise is like, "Dude, there's like a mummy on the list. We got no time for this shit." And then Russell Crowe takes it as like an offense, and he just suddenly turns into like Mr. Hyde, and he beats the fuck out of Tom Cruise. But Tom Cruise can take it because he's absorbed some of the mummy's powers by this point.
Okay, so what I don't understand about the I love how we're talking about the mummy still. What I don't understand about in the Mummy is that. Is Tom Cruise the Mummy? Like, is he like in terms of what the franchise going forward? Is he the character from that will be the Mummy?
Kind of, because like she kisses people, but like she tries to kiss Tom Cruise, but he's like, "You can't kiss me."
Well, wait,
I know
the mummy's
so stupid.
the mummy's kissing people. What?
Yeah, and like it's like Cara Delevingne in Suicide Squad, where she kisses people and they turn into like fish monsters. It's a little bit like that.
But my question is he going to be the character from the Mummy, or is he more like a nameless hero that kind of is going to flip between all the films?
He's kind of both, because he can speak to dead people. Because his best mate who gets killed in the first scene rocks up for the rest of the movie going like,
"Wait,
I'm dead and I'm a ghost."
Is he Ghost Whisperer?
Yes.
Like that shitty like TV show starring that one chick.
What is it, Jessica Love Hewitt? He's her.
Yeah,
right?
I remember watching that as like a adolescent and being like, "Whoa."
Wow, Keanu Reeves in the room. Who would have thought?
Nathan, let's get... The point of this is that Tom Cruise is really solid and he's a good actor.
He sells the movie like Mission Impossible. Back on track, Brenton.
Oh my God.
Mission Impossible 1, you really liked it, and that's great to hear. I think, to be honest with you, out of all 6 of the Mission Impossibles, I think 1 is the weakest.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, well, but maybe you're right, because I haven't seen them all, so I can't actually say that.
And like, you know what? I used to think 2 was the weakest, but I think watching this again, I think 1 is the weakest because I think 2's just got so much. Like, I think we'll talk about 2. But I think
2's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, 2's a lot. But I think with 1, and it's funny because I used to think for so long that 2 was the weakest, but I think with 1, there's just not much to it. Like, it's probably the most serious. It's probably the most serious out of all of them. It really tries to go for the tragedy of like Ethan Hunt's failure at the start.
Okay, more on that later, but continue your thought.
But in saying that, I still think there's some ludicrous elements of this film that are just completely unforgivable.
Like what?
Well, I think
let's not spoil it. Yeah, but you think that it's unforgivable.
Although one thing I can talk about in non-spoilers is the absolute insane reality that Jon Voight is dating like the main love interest of like this movie.
Gosh. He's not dating her. That's his wife.
They're married. Every time she says, my husband, and she turns to Jon Voight, I'm like, fuck off. Who cast this movie?
Question. Is this a sequel to Deliverance, do you think?
I pray this is a sequel to Deliverance. And it's funny because you could kind of see Jon Voight make a move towards a boat at one point, and I'm like, great, get on the paddle, like,
you see him literally like jump over a bridge, like, you know what I mean? Like he falls over a bridge, you know what I mean? So he's dying. He's dying to get back in those rapids again. You know?
Oh, you can tell. And speaking of that, like narratively, spoilers aside, but were you surprised by the twists and turns of this movie, Brenton?
No, but we'll talk about that more in spoilers.
Yeah. So like, you don't go into this movie for narrative reasons, and like you don't go into it. I don't think you go into it even for acting reasons.
No, that's what I said. Like, I feel like Ethan Hunt's not like as a character isn't really a character. He's just like some guy. You know what I mean?
Even the supporting cast aren't that colourful in that sense of their personality.
Like, I like Luther. I like that this is a sequel.
Ving Rhames.
I like that this is or is it a prequel or a sequel? I think it's a sequel to Pulp Fiction. And Marcellus Wallace has gotten over his spoilers for Pulp Fiction, by the way.
Yeah.
We've already talked about that on the
podcast. Have a listen, it's great.
He got over his rape incident basically, and he's moved on.
And now he's into hacking.
And now he's into hacking. You know,
it's so funny because Ving Rhames is like the last person you'd imagine as a hacker in these kind of films because he's so tough.
But also, like, maybe it's a sequel in the sense of like because he was like a mob boss or whatever in Pulp Fiction, but like that was his like undercover job. Like he was still actually with the IMF, and then he was after the incident that happened, he walked away, and so they disavowed him.
Oh, that makes sense. So like Marcellus Wallace, you will no longer be here. Yeah.
So he's hanging out in Europe, and then in this film we actually see that he was like this badass hacker. And he works his way back into IMF.
And bless him for his hacking as well. When you see him hack and like what they call hacking, it's like,
is Bruce Willis ever in this film series?
No, sadly, he's not. And
Damn it.
But I wish he was.
Damn it.
He was. And you know what? Who's not in this as well? In the first 2, Simon Pegg. He's not in the first 2, but he's in the rest. And because he becomes the hacker.
Yeah.
And Ving Rhames get to do more field stuff. So it's kind of funny seeing him be the main hacker for these first 2 movies.
Yeah. Okay, because I remember I've only seen the last film, and I've got questions for you because it references things from the past. And
yes, so now we can fill in a couple of those gaps.
Literally nothing in these 2 films link to that film. Really? Like, there's...
But now, we have to save so much stuff for spoilers, but in Mission Impossible 7, you would have seen they announced that they're bringing back someone who hasn't been seen since the first movie.
I haven't seen any announcement for Mission Impossible 7 other than it's been halted because of
because of Corona. But okay, so I can announce this now. So the person who rocks up in the first movie, and actually we'll talk about this later on as well. So the boss of IMF from the first movie.
Yeah. Dude,
who's a really weird fucker who gives a weird performance in these movies. Like, he's in it. And so they're bringing him back for number 7.
Why?
Because a running gag of these movies is that in every film, for some reason, the boss of the IMF is different.
I know. So like, I know. It was so confusing.
And they always get a really established actor, except for him, to be the boss of the IMF. Like they'll have Alec Baldwin or like bloody Anthony Hopkins or something like that. And so, but for some reason they all get fired. But now in number 7, they're bringing the first guy back. Out of all of them, they're like, fuck no, we're not bringing back Tony Hopkins. We're going to bring back this guy, who's so weird in the first movie.
Yeah, it's a strange performance. Getting back to what we think of the film.
Yes,
guys, I'm so sorry. Like, this is a good episode, I feel, but like, thanks.
It'll
for
be
sticking
great.
with us.
Just hold our hands and just go along this journey with us.
Just have fun with us. Just trust us. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
You brought up strange, and I agree, because as much fun as this is a strange movie. Like, this is just
so
like
weird.
I had no idea. I genuinely had no idea what was going on for like the first 20 minutes, but I was into it.
Yeah. I remember first viewing as well. It's so narratively convoluted.
Like I was just wondering what the fuck was going on, and then like eventually like the plot makes sense and you understand what's going on. But like that first mission, what they're actually trying to do, who these people are. And like it's such a strange setup, and the strangeness continues. And then I kind of accepted it at a point, and I had a really fun time. Like there was a point like basically where shit started to hit the fan at the start. I was in. I was honestly in. Like I was like, this is great. And there's various elements of it that I think are really well done as well. Like I think that scene, there's a titular scene. Well, not really titular, but there's a famous.
This is the impossible mission.
I guess it is. Like, there's the famous scene in this movie.
This movie is well known for its very famous scene of Tom Cruise dangling on a wire. Like,
it paid off. It's
amazing.
Incredible.
The tension's there. Like, it's insane.
The filmmaking in that scene alone is like, you're like, where's that for the rest of it? You know what I mean?
And we'll get into more of this into title talk, but one thing I really love about this series in general is that every film has an impossible mission. Where, like, it's normally halfway through the movie.
Yeah, it's about an hour in all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And they always set it up. They do this beautiful montage, like, here's all the stakes, here's all the... It's like a video game. They go, here's the mission.
It is like a video game, yeah.
It is. And it's great, and they dedicate time to it. And with every Mission Impossible film, it escalates. The mission gets more and more insane. And and I love it. And I forgot about it in this movie, like how well they set it up. And you're just like, motherfucker. So by the time in the 6th one, where he has to do the impossible mission of bloody... What does he even do in the 6th one in Fallout?
I don't remember. See, this is the thing.
Remember.
Well, wait, no, I do. It involves ambulances, and they do this crazy shit to like get away from something.
I think in Paris or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, and there's it's kind of like there's a chase scene mixed in with this mission at the same time, and things are going things are constantly changing.
That's when he's running about in the roofs. Oh, Tom Cruise bursts
they've got to get the bad guy from the 5th film out from.
That's right.
They got to steal him. That's
in the truck.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's when Tom Cruise has that. He's thinking about the plan, but we see Tom Cruise think about if the plan goes wrong. And he's like, we can't let anyone die. Yeah, Tom Cruise really grows a moral conscience throughout these movies, because in these first 2, he will shoot a motherfucker like nothing else. Like,
oh, will he though? Like, we'll get into that in the second one.
We'll get into that,
into the second one. Basically, the elements of this film, though, like a lot of it's shit, but it's it's terrible. But it's enjoyable shit. Like at the same time, I don't know what it is about this that I can set aside like these characters. I can set aside what's going on and just like have a good time. And that's to the film's credit. And it's also to the credit of, like, some of the set pieces, obviously. But it's also, I guess, a credit to the actors and kind of, like, the humanity they bring to these characters, which aren't that three-dimensional.
Do they? I mean, they sell the performance. Like, I loved the wife, and I loved John Voight. I thought they were all good, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, they're not necessarily three-dimensional characters, but they bring enough humanity to them that they're likable enough for yourself as a viewer that you can still have a good time through the film. So good on them in that regard.
That guy on the elevator, what a scream he delivered. Jesus. They got Vanessa Redgrave in this. They got one of the most acclaimed actresses alive, Vanessa Redgrave, in this movie. And I'm like, it is bonkers, like the level of talent they bring into these movies. I'm like, what are you all doing here?
The last technicality I kind of want to talk about in the first film is the soundtrack.
I was about to say the score, yeah.
The
Isn't
score
it great? Isn't it amazing?
It's fantastic. Orchestrations are off the charts, unlike the second film, which can die in a hole. But
oh my god!
But the orchestrations.
We'll talk about the music in the second film.
There's a point when that main theme kicks in. And it's the biggest, like, yeet moment I've had on this podcast for a while. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
fantastic. And you know what's so funny as well? Because you hear it in the opening credits, and that's another thing the Mission Impossible films are known for. In all of them, except for the first one... No, except for the second one, sorry. In all of them, the opening credits give away the entire movie. So you see, like, scenes from all... Like, they show the entire plot in the opening scene. But for some reason, the second one doesn't do it. When the fuse goes off and they're like, Mission Impossible 2.
We'll talk about that opening credits roll in the second one in a second, because I got things to say about that.
Because, like, Because as a man who because now watching 5 and 6, and I knew that going into the cinemas, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have the whole movie spoiled for me. But they get better at kind of just showing the action, but not the plot, so you can still kind of guess as what's going on.
It's never been an issue for me. Even in the first one, it wasn't an issue for me. I still had a good time.
Well, that's good. That's really, really good, dude. But in saying that, we're praising all these things, but at the same time, especially when it comes to the latter entries or even just other action films, it kind of feels empty. It's not really. I don't think it's. It's funny because on paper it sounds like it's really challenging Ethan, but I wasn't that hooked into the plot, and I did find it a bit long at points.
No, I wouldn't say. This is the thing, because I can admit that there are actual issues in this movie. There's objective issues that are in this film.
Oh yeah,
that are problems, but at the same time, watching it, I've still had it still hooked me in. I still had a fun time with these characters. And despite all that, I didn't think there was any pacing, for me, there wasn't many, real pacing issues at all. There was one point in the film that I thought it was dipping a bit, and then it ramped back up.
Okay.
That I'll talk about in spoilers. But for the most part, this
this
has shocked me that I've walked away from this, having as good a time as I did, given that this film is such a mess.
It is a mess. It is a mess. And Brenton, speaking of messes, should we segue into Mission Impossible 2?
Yes, we should.
Mission Impossible 2. Okay, so just for your attention, listeners, because obviously you're the ones we talk to the most, I've been hyping up Mission Impossible 2 for Brenton for months. Because I'm it said, literally as I watched this movie, my first note was yeah, we're in Sydney, woo! And I've been setting this up for Brenton being this is it. This is the Sydney film. Get ready, boy.
This is the Sydney film.
this. Fuck Two Hands. Fuck Emerald City. Fuck Priscilla. This is the Sydney film. And Brenton, this 2000 Sydney film in the year of the Olympics. What do you think of Mission Impossible 2?
Okay, so I could basically give the same review that I gave to Mission Impossible 1 that I can give to Mission Impossible 2. But the thing with Mission Impossible 2 is that it just ramps all the shit in the first one that is shit. You know what I mean?
It augments by tenfold the shitty elements.
It ramps all those elements up tenfold. And then I don't have much else to say. That's basically it. But it's still kind of fun. It's still it's still silly. It's even more campy. It's so stupid. The characters make even less sense. It feels like a completely different world to the first film.
Oh, radically.
Radically different. And I don't necessarily like this world compared to the first film.
It feels like they've almost switched the bonds. You know what I mean? It's like a jump from Connery to Brosnan. You know what I mean?
This film's more violent in terms of its action set pieces, and there's more fatalities in this film. It has less of a sense of humor, I think, an intentional sense of humor. It's not poking as much fun at itself,
but it's still so funny.
But it's more even though this wasn't the intention, it's funnier than the first film.
It is so much funnier because of how fucking shit it is. Oh my god,
the characters that are introduced make no sense. I can't even say the performances make them likable because, they're not likable. It's Luther and
I don't
Ethan.
think anyone's likable in this movie.
Luther and Ethan are the two, but even Luther is a shell of the fun character he was in the first film.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
For some reason in this one, he's obsessed with fashion, and I can't remember why.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
It's so bizarre, and it's so funny because this is the only film where he's like that, and then he's just back to being normal, chill Luther for the rest of the series.
I will say that this film has better cinematography in moments, but at the same time, the cinematography doesn't make much sense. You know what I mean?
This film,
the shots that it's taking of Sydney a lot of the time are hey, that's a cool drone shot, I guess, but fuck, even though it's not a drone shot, it's probably a helicopter shot. But the point is that it doesn't make much sense in terms of the storytelling or what's going on. It's just really random cool shots.
And both the first and second Mission Impossible are guilty of this, where they'll show the opera house in an opening shot, and then it says Sydney, Australia. It's really? Is that where we are?
I know, but it shows the opera house many times.
It loves the opera house.
It loves the opera house. It loves the Harbour Bridge, and it kind of loves itself, this movie, because the editing is shocking. The editing is absolutely atrocious. But at the same time, I still was having a fun time. But not as much fun as the first film, because this one has more pacing issues as well.
Oh, and so much more, yeah. I think also this film is just way more broken than the first one.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's so broken. It's like how the fuck was this made? That's what I was so curious about that.
Who wrote this? Honestly,
who
the fuck wrote this screenplay?
I got a little nugget of that for you. So they came up with all the action sequences before the film was shot. or even written. They're like, here's like the 4 staples we're going to do for the scenes for this movie. Write a movie around it.
It's literally like a video game. It's like in a video game, they're like, gameplay is king. We need all these set pieces that we want to hit. We want these environments, and then we'll bring the writers in later, and they've got to kind of thread this world together. You know what I mean? And there's like 20 writers on the thing, so there's no like narrative consistency. That's Mission Impossible 2.
That's Mission Impossible. And you know what? Especially with the tone of this movie, for some reason, Mission Impossible 2 is coming across as like this weird love romance movie, and it's got this kind of like Spanish guitar, kind of Indian like singing undercurrent.
This love triangle weird thing, and then at the same time, there's the Corona coming. It's funny that I said that about the cinematography. I think that note I said about the cinematography in hindsight was actually meant to be the first film. I've made a mistake because I realized that my note in cinematography in the second film is this is all shot terribly. Feels
Thank
really
you. That's what I was saying. I'm like, Brenton, how can you enjoy this shit?
Yeah.
It is absolutely horrendous, and tonally it's just all over the place. Like it's just the characters make no sense. Like the biggest thing for me is the characters in terms of the fatal flaws in the characters, specifically the romance option in this film. Is just all over the place. Romance.
All over the place, and also the other character that I just like really just was like, this is terrible. Was the villain.
Really?
Was the villain.
I thought you had the Australian more.
No, the only character that I kind of could get around, like in terms of the new characters introduced, was actually Richard Roxburgh as the henchman. Like he was the only one that I was like, he's got a bit of personality. He's got something. He's got something going on.
He's a lot better than like Malfoy from the first movie.
I guess you could say that, but honestly, like he was the only one that had a bit of life and a bit of humanity about him that I was like, I could give a shit about him. I wish he was the main villain, to be honest. Like,
well, yeah, and it's funny because the main villain's so petty and he's just so bitter, like the whole movie, despite the fact he wants to get, and he's also stupid. Like we'll talk about the stupidity of both the villains' plans in these movies and spoilers.
It's so stupid. Like I still don't actually know what the point of it was. Like really,
and it's so funny because he's giving this such outlandish performance, and then you have Brendan Gleeson as like his ally in this movie, who I forgot was in this movie, and for some reason he looks identical to Chris Nolan. Like he's got the same haircut and suits.
Yeah, he's got the same suit. I think what's really funny about Brendan Gleeson is that I wrote a note saying that in a point that I was like, this could be like a prequel to like the prequel story of General Hux. No, of General Hux.
Oh yeah, Hux would definitely be the product of this.
Like how General Hux like became General Hux, and like General Hux is like the offspring of this dude. Which, as we know, they're the two Gleasons. And maybe, like, because he's such, like, a mongering, like, you know, piece of shit, that, like, you know, Hux, like, got that from him, you know, and wanted to live up to that, similar how to, like, Kylo lived up to Vader. Wanted to live up to Vader.
You could have Domhnall Gleeson come from any angle at this. You could have it this could even be an origin story for Bill Weasley. Like, he just saw Brendan Gleeson, he's like, fuck that, I'm gonna live in a cottage in the middle of nowhere with Fleur, just to avoid all that shit, be in hiding.
But could you imagine just being like, you know what, my I don't even know, like, because it's a galaxy far, far away, so it doesn't actually make a lot of sense, but it's like my dad, you know, he tried to, like, you know, profit off this virus and take people down. Man, I'm gonna profit of fucking destroying the Galactic Republic, bitches. And like,
jeez, could you imagine like John Woo directing a Star Wars? That would just be
the Supreme Leader is dead.
I'm the spy. That's what he says in Mission Impossible.
I'm the spy.
Just like fucking he approaches, walk up to Tom Cruise and he's
Could you imagine in Rise of Skywalker as when can someone do an edit please for us of when in Rise of Skywalker when he says I'm the spy, as he says that the Mission Impossible theme kicks in, like
oh my god. No, he takes off like a face mask and there's Tom Cruise underneath it. It's like,
bum 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 bum, and then like Finn and Poe are just like look at each other.
It's
like,
the same reaction shot, and like and Poe's like, I knew it. It's like, Jesus, that'd be a bit. Chewie's like, what's this franchise become? He's just shaking his head like, oh, it'd be great.
I don't actually have a lot more to say in terms of
okay, I'm going to ask you some questions then, because I want to talk about the Australianness of this, because this is something people should know on spoilers. Because I don't know what happened if the government struck like a tax deal with the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah, no.
But this is an ad for Australia. This whole fucking movie is an ad for Australia.
For some reason, like, because like, you know, we're getting spoilers, I guess, but like we're getting intel at a point on something that's happening in Sydney. I'm trying to be as vague as possible because we're not in that segment yet. But like the place that the intel is going to, the place that they're like, spying from, instead of like getting a van in the middle of like Sydney or something, or hanging out from like some apartment in Sydney, it like cuts to like Ethan and Luther and their Aussie friend in like some outhouse in the middle of the fucking like Australian outback.
For some reason, they're in the outback.
Like it's not even like, it doesn't even look like outback New South Wales. It looks like the Northern Territory. Like it looks
it's like they traveled half a fucking continent for him. Also, that's where Luther is for some reason.
Yeah,
like for some reason, he's in outback Australia.
That's where they chopper him in. Like, and he's like, well, fuck this. I wanted to go to Sydney.
It's like, what are you doing? I'm baffled that plane wasn't Qantas. Like, that would have been the perfect
gosh. So yeah, but like we just have so many like exterior shots of Sydney itself, of the outback, of kangaroos, of zooming in, like following kangaroos. Like it's bizarre.
It's like, we get it. We're in Australia, and you know what's so funny? And it's funny how the climax takes part like right near Manly as well.
Yeah,
like, bless. So, like, she's in that fucking forest. But tell you what, like I found it really funny because obviously we're local. Like I found it bizarre that there weren't any boats in the harbour.
No,
like every time they're sailing around, I'm like,
weird.
where's all the boats? I'm like, even for 2000 Sydney, this shit was full.
Yeah,
like
it was probably more.
You can tell
full.
they were so obviously locked shit off, especially literally the final shot.
Oh,
You're
man.
like, this is. We'll talk about it in spoilers.
Quality times. I want to go to that party. If it exists. The final thing I kind of want to talk about, something I forgot to say in terms of technicalities and in terms of the filmmaking, was they butcher the main theme and they butcher the orchestration, I thought. Which is funny because Hans Zimmer did this score.
What was he smoking, Brenton? What the fuck did they feed Hans Zimmer for this movie?
Oh gosh, like it's so horrible. Like this
is right before Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
and it's a sign of the times. It's late 90s, like going into the 2000s. It's trying to be that edgy, cool, funky, like...
This movie, in general, is way too 2000.
Oh, God.
Like, this is the most 2000 movie you'll ever see in your life.
Those opening credits as well, with like the CGI flames coming across everything.
It's like the Spider-Man opening credits, you know what I mean? Like
it takes me back. It takes me back to little 5-year-old Brenton.
It's nostalgic as fuck. But like Tom Cruise's glasses, like the cell phones, like the fashion, Jesus.
It's all a lot. But the biggest sin is that they butcher that amazing orchestration from the first film, which is
horrendous.
So cool. And in this one, it's just bland, boring, and trying to be edgy, but it's at the end of the day, it's a bit shit.
And it's like you'll have an action scene, but suddenly you'll be like, as I cuts to Thandie Newton, like, and like they're like it'll slow motion and be like, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what is this movie? Like, I don't get it.
Can we just get like, I just want that like as a message tone, like when you message me, I want what you. When your impression of the zoom in romance
theme from Mr. Impossible.
Can you do that again, like just for me, please? Please, for our listeners as well.
I'll do it to you off air. No, every time I call you, Brandon, I'll just
Nathan,
do it.
It's zooming in on. Can you please do it?
All right, so you can imagine, like, you know, Brandon and I, we're standing by the opera house, you know, we're looking deeply into each other's eyes, and suddenly it's like. And like it's like a fucking like wake up call in like Arabia or something like that. Like, what's going on?
I'm dead. That's finish me. Let's rate the movie. That's fucking like but it's so true. Where are we? We're in Australia, like, and we're getting.
Oh my god,
Nathan, I'm gone. That's done me. Oh my god, that's the best thing I've heard on this show. In its entirety.
We've peaked with Mission Impossible 2. Oh.
Listeners can't see as well Nathan's facial expressions when he does it. He gets really into it and he gets really serious. Like he's all laughing one moment and the next it's oh gosh.
I want to know. I want to be at that recording session when they made it. That's what I want to know.
Oh, Nathan.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Let's rate the movie. What for Mission Impossible 1? What are you giving
it? Both my thumbs are down for both movies.
Come on.
Nah. And you know why? And you know why as well.
You know what? I'm going to put my hand up and say, if we're rating this... and I never say this, but if we're rating this on a Thursday night, because I'm always the guy that's like, quality of the film, fuck that. This, if like on a Thursday night, I actually want to have a night where we watch, like, we do a Mission Impossible marathon now. Like, these films have got me hyped as fuck. And for that reason alone.
This series, and by the way, these are the two worst ones. It only gets better.
They're such messes, but hey man, I I love it. So my thumbs are up for both of these movies. And I know, and I know that's a controversial opinion. I know that's probably not correct. But hey, man, it's what I thought. I had such a fun time, and I was by myself when I watched these as well. So you can only imagine.
Shame. You should watch this with company.
You can only imagine if you have a few drinks, and you get a few mates together, and you sit down on a Thursday night. You are gonna have the best night ever.
But if I were to watch it with mates, I'd watch 2 over 1. Like,
I don't know. One's still pretty fun.
No.
There's a lot you can have fun with in one. But I see your point. You just proved your point with the impression of the soundtrack. So
it's just if I put on Mission Impossible 1 or 2 for my friends, they would turn to me like, why the fuck are we watching this? Like, you know what I mean?
True.
And you know what as well? If I said let's put on one of the Mission Impossible movies, the biggest egregious thing with these first 2 is that they have no impact on the franchise. Like from 3 onwards, you finally have some continuity with the franchise but the first 2, you could watch 3 cold turkey and completely get everything. In the same way that you watch 6 cold turkey and completely got everything. Well, most things.
Well, I reckon if you sat down to watch the second one without the first one, you'd be like, oh, obviously I'm missing from some setup from the first film of what's going on. And then you'd watch the first film and you'd be like, nothing linked. There was no setup.
No, nothing linked. That's the thing. You could start this franchise, and I recommend starting this franchise from 3, because 3's when it gets genuinely good, because they bring JJ on board to direct it. They got Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain in the 3rd one, and it's outstanding. Especially the opening scene is Oscar worthy. It's amazing.
Nathan, I see your point. I get your point. I probably agree with your point. But I'd watch from 3 onwards, and then I'd go back and have a fun night and watch 1 and 2 with my mates.
Actually, I support that. Yeah. I support that. But my thumbs are still down, Brenton. I'm like, don't watch these movies.
Dude, you have the right opinion. You were doing the right thing. You were doing, you were adulting right now. You were making a respectable decision for the show, for yourself. I am disrespecting myself and any review I've already given on this show up to this point by giving my thumbs up to these 2 films, but I got to do it. I've just got to do it because I had fun. So that's
also is Mission Impossible 2 the best film we've seen in Sydney so far? It's probably the most Sydney film we've seen so far.
I don't know if it's the best film, but
no.
But
I think Babe is obviously much better.
I think Priscilla's probably, if you're gonna say something that's even though the majority of it isn't.
Priscilla's barely in Sydney. I'd say 2 hands over that.
That's true. Yeah, 2 hands, actually. 2 hands, yeah, you're probably right. 2 hands.
Did you see we saw the Sydney monorail at one point?
But this is the funnest film set in Sydney.
Oh my god, definitely the most fun. Randwick, we're going to talk about it. We go all over the city, but
Well, before we get into that, we've got to talk about some spoilers for Mission Impossible 1, my friend.
Yes, let's put 2 on hold right now, as much as we want to. Let's talk about, because, oh boy, is there a lot to talk about Mission Impossible 1. You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh.
There's a lot to talk about. What do you want to talk?
Well, the first note I basically had for this, aside from Breakfast Club Dude and whatnot, and because I saw Breakfast Club Dude, and I was actually thinking the other day, before I saw this film, that I was like, that guy was quite a good actor. And he was a reasonable actor.
What's his other work?
I wonder what his other work has been. And then I saw him in this. I was like, there he is. I was like, cool. I guess he's going to be the best friend in this film or something. And then he died by getting his head stuck into an elevator. But that's not it.
That's amazing, isn't
because
it? That's incredible.
You have all this boring setup for this mission that I just don't understand. And then once you get into it, you're like, okay, I can get amongst old Tom Cruise, get up and whatnot, whatever. Because, it's the worst disguise ever at the start. But my first real note was this. Actually, no. My first real note was I literally have no clue what's going on, ? But my second note was John Voight's the bad guy.
Yeah. So obviously from the get-go,
I was like, as soon as basically that mission started, I was like, he's the bad guy. Something's going to go wrong and he's going to be like a mole or something and it's all him. And then the other thing as well was I picked that she was in on it as well. His wife was obviously in on it. 1, because it's his wife, and 2, because she survives as well. She rocks up to the place, and then for some reason Tom Cruise just believes her.
Yeah, he's just we may. It's funny because the whole film kind of insinuates that maybe they had sex this one time, or maybe there was something there.
It's so bizarre because the opening scene is this weird interrogation thing that's this setup interrogation, and they
which Fallout calls back to, if you remember.
It does,
because Fallout opens with the nuclear. Yeah, which is great.
But in that scene as well, it's
By the way, spoilers for Fallout throughout this episode.
I think they actually killed her. You know what I mean? They were they injected her with some poison or something, and then he saves her at the start, and they're like, oh good, she's alive. And I was like, why the fuck wouldn't they just fake that? the person they were interrogating doesn't know what you're injecting her with. Like, do you have to inject her with like a lethal, did you think that was weird?
It was very weird. And like, I didn't really get why they were doing all that at the start. Like, this was the method they interrogated him with. Like, I think it's because they just wanted to do the face-off scene, like where they're just like...
Do you think that she was actually like into Tom Cruise? Or do you think that it was a play?
If it was a choice between fucking Jon Voight and Tom Cruise. Also, by the way, I looked up the ages of all the actors because this was a concern. She's like 2 years apart from Tom Cruise. And I think she's 14 years younger than Jon Voight at this point.
Cool.
Why? And in a blockbuster as well, why would you have they be like the married couple? You know what I mean?
Jon Voight is a catch, Nathan. That's all I'm going to say. If I had to choose between Tom Cruise...
Deliverance Jon Voight, probably.
If I had to choose between Tom Cruise and Jon Voight, I'd probably... You know what? I probably would go with the Jon Voight.
Brenton. If I had to pick a Jon Voight to be with, I would pick National Treasure's Jon Voight over like Mission Impossible.
Haven't seen
Jon
it.
Voight.
Maybe we should watch it one day.
Oh, we're not watching National Treasure. We're not watching 1 and 2, even though they're great.
All right.
Look,
all right.
Jon Voight should have been with Vanessa Redgrave. That would have made more sense because she's kind of a villain.
Yes.
And she's also his fucking age.
Yeah, that would make more sense. But then they kind of like swap it. It's weird.
What is Vanessa Redgrave in this movie? Everyone's so weird in this. And there's this kind of weird sexual tension going on between her and Tom Cruise as well. It's like everyone's flirting with everyone, Brenton.
It's weird. It's also weird that like this is like the top, like you know what I mean? Like they reference at a point, they're like call MI6, you know what I mean? They're like referencing like real world like intelligence agencies, you know, and this is meant to be like the top one, the IMF, and yet they all just like joke around like it's fucking like and treat this whole situation like going into it. I was like, what are we? Like, what are we in? Like, is this the Power Rangers? Like, I don't understand what is going on here. And no one is taking this seriously, which is fine because it means then I, as the viewer, I go, okay, cool. Well, I'm not going to take any of this seriously, and then I can enjoy the movie. You know what I mean? Because if you take this seriously for a second, you're going to have like the worst film experience ever.
It's not going to do you good. Like, it's going to be a failure. And especially when it comes to the IMF, the Impossible Missions Force is the stupidest name I think I've ever heard in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, why does this division exist? Like, to do impossible missions? Like,
yeah. A lot of like the technicalities of this film like don't make sense. And this film has like that classic... It does that classic film thing of like film hacking. You know what I mean? When characters are talking about like how they're going to hack something and they're like, oh man, like I need a good computer to do that hacking. And you're like,
it's so stupid.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And for some reason, Luther's the only person who can hack this shit. He's like, I've got the only computer. It's like, what are you on?
What are you what are you smoking? And I think at a point they're like, you need like a good computer to like get this good connection. And I'm like, hang on a second. Don't you need like a better satellite like connection to like have a good like internet connection? Is that what they're referring to?
It's nothing to do with the computer. It's not the internet. Like
it's so funny. Like it made
in 1996, I can take it with a grain of salt because the audience may have been more internet illiterate, so they wouldn't have probably understood about like internet connections and all that kind of stuff because the internet was still just taking off by that
But
point.
even today, when people talk about hacking in film, they're like, "Oh man, that's going to take 4 hours to do some hacking there."
Jeez, I think the movie business has gotten better with portraying hackers. Like,
yeah,
especially Mr. Robot. Well, that's more TV, but I feel like Mr. Robot, that's dead accurate. Like, I think that Mr. Robot exists because they were sick of how hackers were portrayed in media.
Look, I haven't seen Mr. Robot, so I can't say it.
Rami's great.
Rami's always great. Love Rami.
Sing, Queen, sing.
I love him in The Pacific. I remember when I saw him in The Pacific, I was like, oh shit, this kid's good. This kid's good.
I love him in Night at the Museum. That's his best role.
I haven't seen Night at the Museum too. I need to get on it.
I think he's in all three because he's the king. He's the King Tut who owns the tablet.
I've only seen the first one. He's not in the first one.
Oh, rip. Really? Oh, rip.
Yeah, he's not in the first one.
Oh, Rami Malek. They bloody cast ahead of their time.
Hey,
he's great. He's really good. Can we talk about the sexual tension in this? Because there's a lot of it. I want to spend some time on this.
Everyone's thirsty for Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise looks like a 12-year-old, and he acts like a 12-year-old as well. Like, he doesn't actually, like, reciprocate any of this sexual energy. He's just kind of, like, there.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You know what's so weird as well? When, like, they all come back to the apartment after everyone gets killed, which, by the way, is insane. It's been my first time watching this. I'm like, holy fuck, everyone's killed.
And no one in the IMF can find him. That's what's hilarious about it.
Yeah.
They're like,
even though he's clearly at, like, the safe house.
Where could he have possibly gone? And they just forgot to check
the safe house. It's like, but also it's weird how like she comes back to the apartment and they're like very sexual on the bed. Like they all like kind of scuffle on the bed and he's like, oh, what are you?
He's like, are you the mole? And he's like on top of her and it's like this weird shot of like down her cleavage and you're like, what am I meant to be feeling at this point? You know what I mean?
It's so weird because like she's just like, I'm the spy, and then they like have this little like it's bizarre, like especially towards the end when they have like standoff with John Voight and you can like
and then she fucking dies. Like I was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh cool. Like she's been like shot in the shoulder or something, and it's gonna like end with her being arrested or something, or maybe like he has sympathy for her or something, and then they end up together. I don't know what was gonna happen, but like it literally that's her last shot in the film. When she like
is it, yeah. She gets killed like a dog. It's the same scene from To Kill a Mockingbird where like the dog dies in the street.
Yeah, it's literally the same. And then I was like, okay, so we're gonna go back to her or something. And then it literally just doesn't go back to her. We just cut to him on the plane, and I was like, what?
You know what the worst thing is that she does in this movie? There's a scene where like they try and break into the CIA, and like for some reason like they walk down the hallway, like the main hallway of the CIA as like firefighters or whatever, and she breaks off. Like, from, like, the rest of the team in full view of CIA-trained agents. And then she comes out, like, 10 seconds later as, like, a really pretty, like, lady.
Yeah, that's like no one saw her. And it's like, hang on a second. All those extras were, like, facing in the direction of that hallway. So they knew they would have seen her.
It's bonkers that they get away with that. It's like...
But Nathan, that scene is pretty fucking great. Let's be honest. That segment,
it's incredible. It's outstanding.
Do you feel sorry for that one dude that's just doing his job, that is giving like laxatives or like is given something, it's squirted into his coffee or whatever, and he starts like vomiting and, and whatnot. And then
I forgot
he goes, and
he just keeps going back and forth.
He has like a full arc in this movie. He's probably got the most character progression in this film.
Oh, easily, yeah.
His story kind of ends, and I wish there's a callback. I wish there was a callback to him at some point in the franchise, like they go to Antarctica, because like they go to the head of the thing. They're like, "What do we do with him?" And he's like, "Make sure that like he's in some fucking like." Igloo in Alaska, like in Antarctica, and that like we'll just deliver him his clothes. I was like, holy fuck, really? If really?
And he's so innocent as well. He's just doing his job,
and he has to like job. Like, what was he meant to do? What more could he have possibly done?
Like nothing. Like it's a great moment as well when it's revealed like what happened and he works it out when like the fucking dagger is on the desk and he's like, wait a minute, he's like, I didn't put this here. Like,
wait a hot second here.
And that's incredible. Like when Tom Cruise catches like the drop and all that, and like and that guy in the vent like fucking kills a rat like in like a millisecond. Like
I reckon,
and you see its corpse just laying there.
Do you reckon he bit its head off or something like that? Do you reckon like he because he had to let go of the rope, so he obviously got his knife and did it, but like wouldn't it be more interesting if he just like leant over and just like took a big bite out of that rat? What the fuck am I talking about?
Like, mate, you in a rat. You cuts to him, he's like chewing on a rat. You're like, ugh. But at the same time, like, would it have been that terrible if the rat got on him? Like, it's just a rat. Like, it's not gonna bite him or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? If I was in an event and like the mission like relied on it, I wouldn't like, and a rat started crawling on me. It's like if a spider would have crawled on me. I'm like, I'll just let it just go about its business. Like, it's not going to do anything.
Also, like, would a rat crawl on you? Like, if you were a living person, like, you thrashed around a bit in an event?
I don't know. I think he was just lost and confused, and it was just, like, screeching about. But he was like, on edge.
It was very, like, casually just walking towards him. It was like, hey, dude, what's up? Like,
neck minute.
Just another guy in the vent. Hey, man, I'm just going about my business. And that's like, hang on a second. Like, but also, like, hang on a second. If there's rats in the ventilation system, like, that's really bad for the CIA.
That's horrendous, yes.
2, there's lasers in that vent that that the rats would probably trip all the time.
Yeah, that's true. It'd just fall down and then just get eviscerated and just be like, oh, feck. Like, we got... Yeah, if the lasers went off, they'd just say, oh, it's the rats. Maybe it's, like, just there for the rats. Like... Like, they just know that, like, that's how they know if they got rats in their system. They just wait for the alarm to go off. Go, oh, we have to get the, the ventilation people back in again.
Anyway, it doesn't make it. Anyway, the point is that scene was really well made. It was really like, again, like there's things that you can.
There's no score. It's just silence.
Oh, it's great. When it went to like pure silence, I was like, I'm down for this. There's flaws you can point out, such as the rat, such as her going into getting changed. Yeah. Overall, man.
It reminds me so much of John Voight when you said her getting changed. It reminded me of the worst line of this movie. When John Voight, because he's talking about her, and he's just like, and he's pointing the gun at Tom Cruise on the train. And we'll talk about the train in a second. But he's pointing to Tom Cruise and he says, and he looks to her and he says, having tasted the goods.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy. Oh, it's so creepy.
Dude, do you want to know what my favorite line in this movie was? It's
What was your favorite
it's a bit
line?
more wholesome content than yours.
Oh, hashtag wholesome content.
But it's when Tom Cruise says, it's before that heist bit, and he's like, how can we possibly do this? And then Tom Cruise is like, we're going to do it. And then it like hard cuts to like an establishing shot of the fucking CIA building, and the theme kicks in for the first time, like that wasn't like during like the title credits.
That they held back on, yeah.
Oh god, dude, it's so good. I was like, yeet. I was getting into it. I was getting so excited.
Like, I'm all for this.
Oh,
Yeah, in
man.
this franchise, like, yeah.
I was in.
Which is just great. Like, there's so many good action sequences in this film that we should give a shout out. Even like the fish tank scene was
dude,
amazing.
incredible.
Where they're having dinner.
Yeah, and he just runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, his one gadget, by the way, is the chewing gum, and I love the chewing gum. Like, it's great.
I love that gum. Oh, and you can see him folding it. You're like, here we go.
Here we go.
It's like,
and it brings it back at the end with that terrible CGI helicopter and the CGI
my
tunnel.
God. Chekhov's gum, like literally. Like, just change one letter. It's right there. But you know what's funny about that fish tank scene as well? They were going to get a stunt double, but Tom Cruise. This starts the tradition of Tom Cruise doing wild, dumb shit for the sake of it, trying to kill himself in each of these movies.
Oh, fun!
And like, because each movie, the hype of it is what is Tom Cruise doing now? Like what's the wild stunt that he's doing? And every movie escalates it. But him running away from the fish tank's still pretty great because there was a genuine risk of when the glass shatters and the water flooding, like that would just hit Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like he had to literally outrun that. Like, that's a real thing. And he's just like, no, I'll do it. And he does it. And like, he's literally running for his life in that shot. Like, it's insane.
What a champion.
And all the people in Prague, when he runs past them, are like, oh yeah. Like this happens. And all the tourists in like the square are like, oh yeah.
And this is a regular occurrence. This happened 3 times yesterday, so you know.
Yeah. You know what I wish? Because we're in Prague, I kind of wish... Well, actually, no, I think they're in... No, in the first one, they are in Prague. I kind of wish that, as one of the tourists, we had the couple from Before Sunrise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's set in Prague too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, so they're just walking around. It's like the middle of the night, and they just see Tom Cruise fucking run past, like, and the fish tank's just gone about.
I'm down for that.
I'd love it. Bring back Ethan.
Yeah,
Hunt.
and then like as usual, like during like the series, like we check in on them like every now and then. Like,
yeah,
like
he's running back to Ethan Hawke, and he's just like, "So, do you want to meet up in Paris?" It's just like, that'd be amazing.
Sick.
No, Before Sunrise, the mask comes off from Ethan Hawke at the end, and it turns out to be Tom Cruise, and she's like, "What?"
I reckon like someone should do a fan edit of like those 2 films like put together.
Oh my god, it would be hard as well. Like, I think you could do it like
or like
fairly
that
easily.
trilogy just like mixed in with all like the Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I mean they're in Greece in the third one, but they're in Paris in the second one, so you
Yeah,
can do
we
like
could
this
work it
Fallout, and then before what's the second one called? Before Sunset? Yeah,
Yeah.
do Fallout and Before Sunset back to back.
Oh, that sounds so much fun, dude. Yes. Yes,
Mate.
Nathan, we got to get into some spoilers for number 2 because otherwise we'll be.
Wait, before we do, we haven't talked about the train.
Yeah, the
Brendan. We have to
train's
talk about
terrible.
the
The train is literally awful. It's like awful 90s
so
CGI coming to like for this whole film. I was like, this film holds up. Like visually, it looks alright. Like I get the computers and the software. The hacking software is just like ridiculous and whatnot. But you know, that's been the case in a lot of films we've reviewed. That train sequence kind of blew the.
Oh my god! But just the ludicrous of dragging a helicopter through the channel. You know what I mean? Like.
Also, a helicopter. Hang on a second. A helicopter fitting into the tunnel that
Oh
size.
yeah. I've been on that train ride, Brenton. I've taken the train from Paris to London. I've been on that train, and this was after I saw Mission Impossible 1, so I was like, I was tempted to watch it on the train just to get the throwback.
Get in the mood. Yeah.
I didn't. But yeah, I remember sitting on that train thinking like, I remember like thinking, there's no way a fucking helicopter could fit in this. And I love that as that scene goes, you got like the train conductor who's just kind of sweating. That's all this is going about. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, what do I do?
Again, another weird character. Like
Oh.
pointless.
Do you kind of wish Doc Ock was on that train too, just like pulling off the lever, like as they're doing that, like Toby and Alfred Molina just fighting about, like.
What's the line he says when he's like, "Looks like you got a train to catch."
Yeah, as he jumps off. It's like, so they're fighting with a helicopter, then Tommy Maguire just like jumps to the front of the train and starts shooting
This
the
is
web.
the thing as well. The train stops for no reason. So maybe during this, Toby's up the front and he's doing that weird like
and he's doing that.
that weird faces. He's like,
Oh, it's so stupid.
Nathan, let's get into Mission Impossible 2.
Mission Impossible 2.
Let's spoil
Mission
it.
Impossible 2.
Where do we start?
Oh my god. Do you want to start with the opening scene where it's like, not on the plane, because there's not really much to talk about with the plane, but with the rock climbing, because that's iconic.
I don't understand why though. It's kind of like cool, like you know, he's climbing a mountain. Great.
There's a behind the scenes interview with Tom Cruise where he's like, oh, why'd you do the rock climbing? And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be the best way to reintroduce the character. And it's like, really? If him just doing so. And it's so funny because the song, it's like, you won't let me down. It's like that kind of like reggae kind of like.
The song's awful. Like, it's so bad.
As he's like climbing the rock, and you're just like, what is going on?
Look, it's a cool moment, but it goes on for way too long.
It goes for and it ends with them shooting a fucking rocket at him.
Yeah, and
he
you're like,
takes off the glasses and he looks at the camera. He's like, oh yeah.
But like that rock climbing segment goes on for way too long, and you can honestly say that for so many points in this film. Like the last action scene is fucking too long.
It's all too long.
The chase scene is too long. The motorbike jousting is too long.
Oh my god, this motorbike jousting in this movie
is just ridiculous.
It's all of this is so ridiculous, and it's just. Also, you know what else is ridiculous? There's way too many face-offs in this film. Like number 2 is the worst. Like there's 6 face reveals,
I know.
and they're all meant to be twists, but by the second one's done, you're
dude,
like,
I kind of loved it. Like because the first face-off reveal, because they have these they have like a sticker on their voice box now.
Yes, the chain, which is ridiculous.
It's so stupid, but that's okay. But during this film, after the first one, I was like, man, I want this film to have like four more of these Ethan Hunt reveals that is Ethan Hunt or if he's not Ethan Hunt. And it does it. It went there and I was so happy. What was your favorite face reveal? I know what mine is, but...
Oh, I know what yours was too, and mine's the exact same. It's the bodyguard. It's the tied up bodyguard who gets shot.
No, that's not mine. It's up there.
Oh, really?
It's a close second. My favorite is when his love interest runs away from the facility. He's like...
oh my god!
His house.
To meet up with Tom Cruise,
and then like straight away, I was like, "This guy's Tom Cruise is acting evil. This is the bad guy." Because Tom Cruise, when he's acting like as the bad guy, who is like Tom Cruise in that scene, like just plays it like so hammy. It's hilarious. And that whole scene, he's like staring at her, like he's gonna like fucking like lick her face and then like kill her. So yeah, in that moment, I was like, "Oh, it's the bad guy." And then the reveal of that it is the bad guy. Not only is it reveal him, but it's like revealing that he's like inconsolable, like he's in tears crying because like she's cheated on him. And then Richard Roxburgh just like kind of comes out of nowhere behind him and he's like, good job you like for figuring that out, oh my god. And he's like crying his eyes out.
Oh my god,
the villain is so bad in this movie.
He's horrendous.
We never find out why this guy is bad because it's like, oh yeah, I
just wants his like $30 million. Well,
he's like Tom Cruise is like, oh, I should know, you know, we've never seen eye to eye. And it's like, well, what's your history? And then all of a sudden he just wants money, and so he goes rogue because of that. And it's like they only sent when Ethan Hunt went rogue, they thought he went rogue. They sent the whole team after him.
Oh yeah.
And so the IMF sends just Ethan Hunt and that's about it.
And he's just such an asshole. Like the whole movie, this movie is horrendous to Tandy Newton. Like she has no character, she has no arc. She's just there to be literally to be fucked. Like the worst thing the villain says, in my opinion, his worst line is when he's talking to his henchmen and he's like, some of us have to have the burden of sex to deal with. And he like goes off into his, like he walks off dramatically with like a hair flick.
It's so
and, like,
bad. It's so
he's Scottish for some reason. Like it's just,
it's so bad.
Terrible. Like he's like if Sean Connery were way evil.
She gets like the worst deal.
Yeah, because initially he recruits her like, oh no, we need your skills for it.
Yeah, we need like your
thing,
and then it's like we just need you to be, you know, his ex. And it's like, really?
This movie just pimps out Tandy Newton. You're like, what are you doing? Like it's just ridiculous. Like, and like it plays up like their joviality, like as they're like, you know, like she like tries to steal the jewels and hits Tom Cruise like, haha, give the necklace back. Like I just wasn't buying any of it.
Well,
frankly.
look, I was like, I wrote down a line saying blatant sexism, but like when we talk about sexism in film, I'm always worried because I'm like, you know, like it is sexist, like some of the lines in this, and like Anthony Hopkins when he's introduced and he introduces why she's there, I was like, yeah, that's sexist. I was like, but maybe it's just this character, maybe it's just the character. And then more and more as it goes on, it's just blatantly obvious that whoever wrote this screenplay, these filmmakers that were involved, just had no intention of making her anything else than a piece of meat, basically, in this movie. And
she literally is. And the camera also treats her like that with the shots that she's been given. Like,
it's awful.
It's just bad male voyeurism. I'm just like, it's just... Not that there's good male voyeurism, but I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
by the way, her introduction as well. Like, I know that she's like stealing something, but more so her introduction in that car chase. What the fuck was going on in that car chase at the start of the movie when they're like, you better catch me? And he's like, okay. And then they like fucking like have like a highway incident, like, and it's meant to be like
where she's like dangling from a cliff,
and it's meant to be this like romantic moment that they like bond over and then like sleep with in the next moment. sleep with each other in the next moment.
God.
And I was just like, what is going on? What the fuck is happening? Like, they're laughing at each other as they're ramming. They're like playing dodgem cars, like with real cars that are expensive cars.
And like all these cars are crashing off screen.
And they're just all laughing like as it's going on, like and having a jolly old time.
They're insane.
Man.
They're literally maniacal. And you know what I love about that? I love this whole movie is about Tandy Newton and all that kind of stuff. And then she's never mentioned again in the sequels. Like
Really?
the movie drops her like a hot rock. She is never referred to. It's like it never happened. Like, and I love it. Just to see this franchise blatantly just do this.
Because Ethan Hunt kind of becomes a psychopath in this film, and he starts killing everyone. And so, like, realistically, there's a point in this film that the way he could have gotten out of it was just by killing her, like, and walking away, and the problem would have been solved. You know what I mean? Like, the mission comes first. Like, she's like an asset, like killer, whatever. And he doesn't because he has these like genuine like feelings for her and whatnot. And she's like, "No, you should kill me." And he's like, "No, I don't, because I love you." And then so the fact that it drops her is just kind of it's kind of bad.
Jeez, I was kind of almost half giggling when she was standing by the cliff. I'm like, lady, just wait. Like what are you doing jumping off a cliff for? It's like just. And the film tries to treat it as if she'd actually jump. It's like,
I know, but she stands there for like 5 minutes of motorbike jousting. So
it's ridiculous.
So,
it's so ridiculous.
Also, do you want the villain's house in this movie? Like this Scottish dude has a house on Sydney Harbour.
Oh yeah, it's like amazingly placed. This doesn't exist, does it? Like I don't think I've seen that.
Surely
house
not.
before.
It doesn't look like a real house. So
no, it's also like way too obviously like a villainous lair.
Yeah.
Like, when they're on the island and it's like all the security like around it. I'm like, where is this? Where in Sydney could this be?
I have no idea. I was thinking the same thing. I was trying to work it out.
Tell you what, one of the greatest positives in this movie is how Sydney it is, even though it's way over the top. Like I love that we have a scene in cinema where we're at the Randwick races.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? And bless when he's like, "Can you bet some stuff on me?" And he holds up like an Australian $50 note. I'm like, oh bless. I love it when our currency's in cinema. And she's got like the note, and he's like, "Actually, bet 1,000." He just whips out some of the green notes. I'm like, oh bless you,
Nathan. I had to pause this film at 2 occasions because it was making me laugh so much. Can I? I'd just like to point these out. The first one was the scarf grab. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Oh my god, yes. Because there's a scene where Tandy Newton walks up to the bad guy in slow motion, and he just grabs her scarf, and it's so weird. It's so
I had to
weird.
pause.
I don't know why. Because you're trying to imagine it in real life.
It's so bizarre. That should be a GIF or something. Like that should be a meme. It's so funny.
It's meant to be some like sexual tension, but it just comes across as so fucking bizarre.
It's hilarious.
Like,
and the way the music
don't
rises when
understand
it
it.
happens, and it's like, why
I'm
did he
so
grab
glad you brought that up.
Why did he grab her scarf? I was just like, okay. And then I was on the floor laughing. But
I
then
was waiting for him to like sniff it or something. Like,
20 seconds later, something even funnier happened. Because
God.
this whole time, Richard Roxburgh gets really jealous of this relationship. Like, it's really funny.
yeah.
It's like,
I don't get it.
It's like he's jealous of his boss, and he's like, oh, I wish I was her, like, basically. And so she comes in, and he's like, this is like 20 seconds after the scarf grab, and he's like scanning her, like, indoors. Like, he's scanning her to see if she has any tracing on her, which she does, and it doesn't pick up, so they've got shit equipment. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so... and someone goes, oh, she's clean. And then it goes to this weird close-up shot of Richard Roxburgh, and he says the line, I had to pause it after this. He says, all cats are. And then it's like, that's it. And he says it really creepily. He says he really enunciates his R, like he's like, all cats are. And it just stays, the camera stays on him for a second, and it cuts away, hard cuts to the next scene. I paused the film and laughed my ass off because it was so weird. I didn't understand what was going on. But now I think I understand the relationship is that Richard Roxburgh is gay in this movie, and that he wants...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or maybe he's been sleeping with the bad guy.
I think the bad guy's just bisexual. I think he's
so
just
too.
fucking everyone.
Yeah. Maybe he was trying to, because he cuts off his, like, the tip of his finger with a cigar clipper, like in the next moment. Maybe,
which is ridiculous that you do that to your right hand man. It's like, well, that breaks the trust issues, doesn't it?
Hey,
like,
man, but it's a plot point. It is a plot point that comes up later on.
Yeah, Christ.
A couple times,
that
they
scene?
use that finger a couple times, so they get that finger for what it's worth. You know, they bring it up again when like the Aussie spy like kind of bangs the door against his finger and he's like, ow, and it makes it bleed again. But also at the end when it's revealed that it wasn't actually Tom Cruise that was captured and it was actually Richard Roxburgh and he shoots his right-hand man, which he then has a huge reaction to, the bad guy that he's killed his...
Yeah,
so
they've been sleeping together.
They were fucking.
You know it, it. I'm so glad as well you brought up the Australian character. I've hated him. I hated him so much.
His first line in the movie is like, oh, welcome to Australia. Oh, let's go to the Outback House. Oh, come on. And then he like finishes off with this weird laugh. He goes like, ha, and then like walks inside. And like Tom Cruise and Luther are just like, Luther's like, I hate him. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. I don't blame you, Luther.
Everyone hates him. Oh, I hate him. I thought the Australian in Pacific Rim was the most egregious Australian in cinema, but no, it's this guy. He's like the guy you would meet at an airport if you were a tourist.
Also when Brendan Gleeson is being dropped back home after his little like gassing incident and the way they kind of interrogate him, and they drop him home, and he's like driving his limo, this Aussie guy, and he's like beeping the horn, and he's like, "Wait, mate, wake the fuck up!" Like, it's like what limo driver who's driving like this this guy who's the head of this like $1 billion corporation like honks the horn and goes, "Oi, mate!"
He's like, "Oi,
mate, you gotta get out!" And like he hasn't even like got into his property. It's like outside his front gate. I was like, "What is going on here?" Like, Brendan Gleeson's like, "What happened to my other driver?" And he's like, "He's sick, got a bout of the flu, mate." No.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, Nathan!
You know what I hate about it as well, because it tries to be intelligent. Because it's like it keeps on going on. That's what I hated most about this movie. It keeps on going on about this like hero villain bullshit. It's like, what is a villain? It's like, what is a hero? Oh, like, were you buying any of this shit? Like,
no.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me a lot of Unbreakable. Like, if you've seen that, like,
yeah, I have. I love Unbreakable.
Yeah, where it's like Samuel L. Jackson is like, oh, what is a villain? It's like, you gotta be the villain. It's like, shut up. It's like, we know what a fucking hero is. It's like let's talk about like Joseph Campbell's mythology. Like, are you the villain of this? What even is like morality? I'm like, fuck off, John Woo. It's like, this is not the film or premise or even franchise to be exploring these themes of morality.
Let's talk about Joseph Campbell's mythology.
Like,
oh man,
like I don't need this shit in this movie. Like, get it out of here. And like, and the film's better when it drops it. I'm like, you cannot have a movie with fucking motorbike jousting and then just try and be like,
look, let's get into it. Let's get into the final climax of this movie.
What is this final scene?
Which is like the chase scene from the island onto the mainland over to Manly.
Why do the security guards have motorbikes?
I don't know. I also don't know, like, because Ethan Hunt, again, like, viscerally, like, kills, like, you know, these guys and, like, crashes their cars, like, on top of civilian cars and, like, puts them in the way of, like, huge trucks which keep driving even though they've just, like, you know, they basically hit and run. They, like, blow up this car and the truck keeps driving, which is a civilian, presumably. So that civilian is presumably now going to jail for, like, manslaughter. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And also, like, he blows up another car and flips it onto a bunch of other civilian cars, and it looks like it's, like, at a sports carnival or something, so those kids are now scarred for life, you know, like, just casually.
You know what I like to think? You know that truck that runs over the villain's car? I like to think that's the same bloke from Road Games. Like, it's him and the dog, and they're just doing another delivery. They're just plowing through.
Nathan, and then we do some motorbike jousting, and then they ram their motorbikes together, and then they ram themselves together as well, kind of sexually, and then they roll around on the beach.
Would shatter if you clumped into another human body at that speed,
and then fell off a cliff. Yeah, and then
onto like the hard rocks, like by the shore. Like,
yeah, and then they have a fist fight, and then Ethan wins, and then he pulls a gun on him, and then Ethan kicks the gun up
from the sand,
you know, and shoots him dead.
But I love that Ethan suddenly takes this stance like, oh, I can't kill him. I'm above that. I'm like, motherfucker, you've been killing like everyone this entire movie.
The film brings up this thing as well, when it's like, oh, Ethan Hunt, I know Ethan. He would never kill, so he's gonna not come up from the bottom. He's gonna come in with some acrobatics from the top, and then he comes in from the acrobatics from the top, and he does that, and then he proceeds to like kill every single person that's like in this facility.
Jesus Christ. It's like, yeah. It's like the villain's like, because that's another thing with the Mission Impossible setup scene in number 2, it's kind of cool in the way that the villain is aware of it. And the villain's kind of narrating it rather than Ethan.
And the villain still fails. Like, why was like, he should have just like had like dudes like waiting for him like next to those like areas.
Yeah.
Or like,
it's like you even know when the vents are going to open and close.
Yeah. Or move like the pieces of the I don't even know, like, move the strand of the virus, like, away from that location. So Ethan rocks up, it's a trap, and then they fucking kill him.
And also, they like he's standing there next to the virus, and like they fire like a rain of bullets at him, and it still misses him. It's like, what are you paying the security guards for? They're basically stormtroopers by this point. Like, it just makes no sense. Like,
anyway, so it wraps up, and we finish off on Sydney Harbour because Ethan can finally have his holiday. And he has his vacation with his girl, and they hang out, and there's a bunch of balloons and shit near the Botanic Gardens, near the Opera House.
Because this doesn't exist. This park that they're all hanging out at.
I don't know where that is. Like, I
know where it is, because I remember when I went to Sydney after seeing this movie, I'm like, I need to find out where the fuck this is. Because it's above the Opera House, and what it is, it's where that, like, Parliament Castle is.
Yeah.
Like in Botany Park, and it's like, it's private property. It's like where the Governor General goes or something like that, when when they host events. It's like this huge mansion, and it's like a private backyard that overlooks the Opera House. So for some reason they make it seem, for the audience of the world, like you can just go to this park as a tourist and like just hang out there, where there's fucking like circus jugglers and like it's the most like entertaining park in the world. You know what I mean?
It's the most un-Australian thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, where does that exist? Where does that exist?
Like, I've been to Botany Park in the middle of summer on a beautiful day. I'm sure you have too. And it's not that. It's just like a couple of people having a picnic. Maybe someone's doing like a fitness class, like on the grass. It's not. Maybe there's a game of football. There's nothing on the scale. Also, it's dense. Like, everyone's like half a meter from each other. Like, it's so weird.
It's ridiculous, but that's okay because this film is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, Brent.
Now we've informed you.
Now that you've seen this, though, before we get into some special segments, I want to ask you. Now that we've gone through the spoilers, are there questions you had about Mission Impossible 6 that 1 and 2 answered? Like, with the callbacks? Like, you said you were like...
No. There's nothing that these two films answer nothing. In fact, they raise more questions. The only thing I realized is that Luther was in all the movies. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, he's in all 6 of them. He's the only one besides Tom Cruise.
I like Luther. I was like, Luther's cool. I'm into Luther. Luther's great.
Because in 6, it doesn't really tie back to 1 and 2. Obviously, you get the cliffhanging scene with Ethan at the end after Henry Cavill goes off the edge. But I don't think there's anything else that ties... I mean, because his wife is introduced in the third one. So, like, you get all the answers on that there. That's when you... And it's so weird as well, because the third one just opens with Ethan married. Like, it's such a hard cut from Tandy Newton to...
Stop spoiling it. I just want to go into 3 onwards just blind.
But 3 came out in 2006, so you're going to have to wait 6 years, Brenton. So just watch it now.
Let's just do a marathon at some point. We'll watch it all.
I would happily watch 3 and Ghost Protocol again. 5's okay, but, like, yeah, it's great.
Let's get
such a good time. But yeah, you never really get answers for it. It's so weird.
Special segment!
Ooh, so special. So, Brenton, I want to bring back an old segment we haven't done in a while, which was let's replace the main actor.
Yes.
Because Tom Cruise is such a staple for these movies. Could literally anyone else be Ethan Hunt in these?
No, not really. No. But for the sake of this argument, let's consider it.
Because also, it's like 90s era, so we can't like drag in like Chris Pratt, for example, to be in this franchise for 20 years. Like, it has to be like someone of the time.
Could have been, you know what? It probably would have been Nicolas Cage or...
Oh my God.
You love that, don't you?
I love that so much. Because then it really would time to face off.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage, I could see Nicolas Cage.
I feel like who was hot in the 90s? Like John Cusack or something like that, you know? Like a really like male lead of the 90s, you know? Like Will Smith. I bet Will Smith would have been asked.
No. I don't think it would have been Will.
Will could have done it.
Yeah, Will could have done it.
You could just imagine like...
But he's got too many...
Imagine like Robin Williams. If we're talking about 90s lead actors.
He's got too much personality for Ethan Hunt.
That's true. Ethan kind of needs to be a blank slate. Like, Robin Williams would just be making gags the whole movie. Like, it wouldn't work. It has to be someone like really
I just looked up, like, action stars of the 90s. Oh my God, Wesley Snipes.
I would love him to reprise Blade in this. Like, it would be amazing.
Nicolas Cage, obviously. That's who I'd probably pick. What about Bruce Willis?
Yeah, you could do Bruce Willis in this. I think it would work well.
I could see Keanu as well.
Oh yeah, Keanu would be great. Yeah, Keanu would be nice, but like again, it'd be too similar to Matrix because he would have been filming at the exact same time.
True.
What if they like gender swapped it as well? Could you get like a lead actress doing this?
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be great.
What about Kevin? What about? Oh my goodness! I'm just looking through like action stars of the 90s. Kevin Costner.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
Oh wait, and number 3 on IMDb's action stars of the 90s, Jackie Chan.
I would love to see Jackie Chan. We still need to do like Shanghai Moon and all that on the podcast. So
I'm gonna, for sake of argument, I'm typing in actresses of the 90s.
Oh yeah, because I'd love to see a female lead in this. I think it'd work. Like, you know,
I could see Jennifer Connelly. I could see Jennifer Connelly doing it.
Oh, she'd be great in it.
Actually, yeah, that's my pick, Jennifer Connelly. Who else? Jessica Alba. Oh no.
Reprising the
No.
role. Jeez.
No.
From Silver Surfer.
No. Yeah, I'd probably.
She couldn't do it. It has to be like a really actiony kind of like female lead.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I could see. You know what? Bloody who's Terminator chick? Like everyone's screaming at us at home. They're like, oh, it's this actress, but like her, she would be amazing. I think like because also that era of like 90s Sarah Connor, she could pull it off.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be great. And also, could you imagine Arnie? Could you imagine Arnie doing these movies?
I could imagine it. I could see it.
I think it would. I think it would really work with Arnie. Just seeing him Hulk about in Australia, just like we got get to the chopper, as like he's like coming out, and he's like get on motorbike. He's like too big for the bike as well. It's like a clown car. Like,
Let's bring back another segment, which is one of our favorites, which is called MCU ? Which is when we talk about whether the Mission Impossible franchise could fit into the MCU, and absolutely Ethan Hunt could be an Avenger. Absolutely, he could do it.
But you know what? I want him to have the team with him. I want him to have like Simon Pegg and like the latest team like with him.
Yeah,
for
sure.
The Avengers.
Sure.
What would he do in as a part of the team?
He'd just infiltrate and he'd just like, hang out and have it. I think it'd be a fun time having Tom in there.
Yeah. You know what? I can see him, in Ultron when Black Widow gets kidnapped by Ultron and she's in like the cage. I can see Tom Cruise just trying to break her out.
Dun,
like,
dun, dun, dun,
like
dun.
Scarlett Johansson's just sitting there and she's just like, oh yeah. And then Mark Ruffalo rocks up and she thinks like the Hulk is there, but then like Mark Ruffalo takes off the mask and it's Tom Cruise. And then he's like, I'm here to break you out. Like,
dude, yes, they could totally play around with like those face moments. Like at the end,
great.
like everyone's like, yeah, Thanos has got like all the power stones, and then it's just like the mask comes off and it's actually Tom Cruise with the Infinity Gauntlet on.
Okay, what if like Iron Man, so like Thanos tries to snap the fingers in Endgame and like it fails and it cuts to Iron Man and he's like, I am, and then he takes off the face mask and Robert Downey Jr. is Tom Cruise.
I am Ethan Hunt.
And when he clicks the fingers, it doesn't get rid of Thanos. It just like it brings back Tandy Newton, like something like that.
It brings back Tandy Newton.
She's like, she's so confused at that. Everyone's confused. And they're like, what? And Tom Cruise like takes off the glove, just chucks it to the ground, and walks off with Tandy Newton. Like, oh,
Nathan, do you want to tell us what our next special segment is?
All right, this is another one. I want to have the characters from one movie versus another movie. I want you to get the supporting teams of the first movie and the second movie. And I want you to like have them fight, and I want you to tell me which one would win. So it's like John Voight, the wife, like the elevator dude, all of that versus like the Australian bloke, like Luther. For some reason, he's on both. Like, who would win in that battle?
Well, let's put Luther in 2 up against Luther in 1. Luther in 1 would win.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. He'd kick the ass. Because Luther 2 would, like, step in some mud and be like, oh, my shoes. And, like, get tackled to the ground.
Let's do villains. John Voight versus this other dude, Ambrose.
Yeah, who would win there? Because I feel like, well, John Voight isn't that threatening because, like, he misses. Even when he has the gun pointed at Tom Cruise, he still misses when he shoots.
Yeah, and, like, when he's crawling on that train, he just looks like some old dude that's trying to crawl up a train.
Right.
His death is so funny.
It's so stupid.
When he bangs on the rail tracks.
Oh my god.
Did you?
Yeah, the fucking helicopter rams him into the ground. Like I thought Willem Dafoe's before the Goblin Glider stuck him was the worst death I'd ever seen. But no, John Voight being crushed by a helicopter is amazing. Like, I also like to think, because it's a sequel to Deliverance, I like to think he survives the whole events of Deliverance, but then he just gets crushed by a helicopter.
Well, look, I like him better as a villain, but I think if they were going up against each other, like, Ambrose is going to win for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He got his head smacked against a rock and, like, still got up and tried to, like, shoot a gun.
It's baffling, actually, that he makes it. Like, I was half expecting when Tom Cruise, like, jumped out the building, like, for him just to run after him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's the man's bloody indestructible. Like, oh.
Yeah, so Ambrose wins. Love interest.
Ooh. I know Tandy Newton's deadly. I reckon she kicked the shit. Oh, but then again, the wife knows her shit. Like,
well, it's the wife and Max.
oh,
from
true.
one-
So it's
from
like
one.
a team up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Versus
But
Tandy
that means
Newton.
Tandy Newton's ally. If we're going to say love interests, we're going to say the love interest of both Tandy Newton and the villain, the bloke, the henchman.
Okay, well, in that case, I still think Tandy.
You still think Tandy? I think Tandy would win. Also, I think it's just Westworld seeping into me. Because I know how deadly she is there. So, like,
Sure.
I should just pull out that same shit.
Sure, okay. Richard Roxburgh versus that other dude with the knife in the first one. It's got to be Richard.
Yeah, it's Richard. Like, there's no question about it. Richard doesn't even hesitate. like
Oh.
you just get straight in.
All cats are.
Oh my god. I hate all of them. They're so shit, especially in an age where we're getting such good villains. I can't imagine anyone these days like watching this movie going like, wow, what a compelling villain. Like even in the year 2000, people going, wow, what a compelling villain. It's just, it's just horseshit from top to tail.
Nathan, final special segment is, would this work as a video game? And wholeheartedly, I say yes, it would.
Yes, both of them. In fact, all of them.
Yeah.
And it baffles me this isn't a video game franchise.
Well, hey, hang on a second. Hot second here. Do you know of the game Lego Dimensions?
No, I don't, Brenton, but go on.
Lego Dimensions is a Toys to Life video game in which you buy like the little Lego sets or whatever, and they like add to your game, and you can play as like those Lego characters in the game. But there's like characters.
Oh, that's exciting.
But there's characters from like from everything. There's characters from Back to the Future.
Oh my god! Don't tell me there's a Mission Impossible
from The
expansion.
Simpsons. There's ones. There's Sonic the Hedgehog is one. There's Lord of the Rings. There's there's from everything. Like all the DC superheroes. You can buy Aquaman. You can buy Superman, and you buy like the little sets, and then you could like put them onto your little pad, and they'd be in the game. Nathan, I own Lego Dimensions.
You fucking nerd. Get out of my house.
Okay, so I own Lego Dimensions, and it's like a guilty pleasure of mine. I fucking love this
game. Clearly for children.
Nathan, I fucking love it. I'm addicted as all shit to this thing. You can get Scooby-Doo. I got Scooby-Doo. I got Scooby and Shaggy.
Don't go on about this, Brenton. We're losing subscribers.
Man. It's great. No, but you go on eBay and you buy like the little like.
Don't charlatan me into this. Don't convince me to get this.
I am convincing you. I'll lend it to you, dude. It's a good time.
He just pulls it out of his pocket right then and there.
So basically, this thing must have tanked like the company that made it, because like they stopped making them pretty soon. They had like 3 seasons of it, and then they like gave up. And so like basically all these sets like came out for like you could get like fucking all of them for like. I remember like I just went out on a spending spree and I bought like 5 packs for like $10. Like it was ridiculous. Like,
oh my God.
And these ththings are usually like $25 a pop, and like they give you new levels in the game and shit and whatnot. And I was like, I'm on a roll, let's go. And me and my sisters went out and bought all this shit, and we brought it home. We all, because it's all co-op. It's like a regular Lego game. We're playing together. Anyway, one of my sisters bought me the Mission Impossible pack. Which I never opened because I've never seen the movies, and I was like, oh fuck that, I've got the Ghostbusters one, let's go. And and so they were like, oh, I went to the store and it was on sale, so here you go. It was like, you know, however much it was, and I've still got it sitting in my cupboard like unopened,
but
and
what
ready to go.
characters would they have included in that pack?
So it includes, I looked it up, it includes Ethan Hunt is like the character that you get, but it's also a level pack, so it gives you like a little campaign thing. And I looked online and it's got like Luther in it, it's got like all these characters in it and shit and whatnot that you can play through in Lego, like as a regular Lego game, but it's Mission Impossible. And I'm thinking of cracking it open and having a little having a little gander. I'm not gonna lie.
That would not work as a video game. I'm just saying it right now. Just also side note, I have never been impressed with the Lego games. Just like
yeah, neither have I, but they're addictive. They're like collectathons. They're addictive as all shit. The Indiana Jones one, man, back in the day, I was all over that shit. Loved it.
It's just because I borrowed the Lego Avengers off you. I remember like doing that, and I'm like, it's just this shit. The gameplay hasn't budged a fucking inch in like 20 years, and it's
but you don't play it for the gameplay. You play it because it's like they're in Lego, which is fun, and you just collect shit. It's a good time.
It's not a good time, Brenton. What stills this movie?
Ooh, it's blinding. Nathan, what stills this movie is a segment on the show where basically we select a frame that is either funny, that is either good looking, whatever it is, and we put it on our Instagram so you guys can look at it as well when you view the episode. So click over to Instagram, peeps, and check it out. Classic Movie Banter. So for the first film, I selected this frame, and it's during the yeet moment of the movie. It's when the theme song kicks in. You know,
yes.
It's like, we're going to do this, and like theme song kicks in, and it's never established that they're going to do this as firemen. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's a wonderful surprise.
The establishing shot that the fact that they're firemen is this zoom in shot to the window of this fire truck. It just shows Luther just like casually like peeking out. Like
it's so funny. And it's so funny because you and I got the stills next to each other from both 1 and 2. And it looks like they're both looking at the same thing, but with very different reactions.
It's so true. It's so true because Nathan, you picked the still for number 2.
Because from number 2, there's a scene where Tandy Newton's just getting undressed and she's getting naked. And the camera just like pans closely to the villain's face. And it's like he's seen the face of God. Like as Tandy Newton just like gets like undressed, he's like about to burst into tears because of apparently how beautiful her naked body is. And he knows he's about to have sex with it. It's just...
It's
horrendous.
It's kind of concerning. What is his face, man? In like all this film, like it could have like there's so many scenes that could have stilled this film, but they all involved this dude and just his facial expressions.
It's just like I love his performance. There's no other actor who could have pulled off this shitty villain.
Nathan, there absolutely is other actors that could have pulled off that shitty villain. But
I love what this guy did with it. Because imagine the script for this movie. Imagine being an actor getting the script for this. What the fuck would you do with it? You know what I mean? Like at least he did something.
I can only imagine, Nathan. But that brings us on to, hey, let's look at this film's poster.
Banter.
Yes.
Let's look at this film's poster.
But is it art? Nathan, both these posters fucking suck. They're terrible.
They're shit.
They're absolute horseshit.
They're terrible. They both have Tom Cruise in them, like front and center. It's just Tom Cruise's face, essentially. The first one's him, like through like a stereoscope kind of thing, where it's like him, like with this like blue kind of light on him with a grid. It says Tom Cruise in like this kind of like metal font. It says Mission Impossible. It's boring AF. And the second one is like him running through fire, I think.
Yep.
Like
he's got the stupid scar on his face from the knife that is in the knife fight at the end that he throws away for some reason. But this is the thing about the second one that's just stupid. And we'll get into it in a second in title talk, but like on the poster it has MI-2 and then Mission Impossible 2.
Impossible 2. Just pick one.
Says, but just pick Mission Impossible 2. That's the title, not MI2.
It's not even a long title. Like you can say it. Like
it's terrible. Like I don't even know what else to say about it.
How would you fix them? What would you want the posters to be, Brenton?
Oh, that's a good
question.
question.
The first one should be just Tom Cruise dangling on the rope, right?
Agreed.
That should be the poster for the first one.
Yeah, done deal.
Second one. It should just be the Opera House.
Yeah, it should just be.
And Tom Cruise like waving at it, like he's like standing in front of it, waving at the camera. Like.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nathan, you're spot on.
There we go. See, we solved it in 2 seconds.
Marketing, mate. You should get into it.
Oh, maybe.
Ooh, it's the title. Nathan, title talk. Was there Mission Impossible in Mission Impossible?
Yes, there were, Brenton, and like and they're also a centerpiece to the plot. They're not just there for the sake of being there. Like, I still agree that the Mission Impossible division is still the stupidest name, like, ever created for cinema. But at least they're tied in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
at least the missions were, I mean, they weren't impossible.
But they weren't impossible.
They weren't possible. They managed to do them, but they were...
It's like mission unlikely. That's what they should call them.
Mission difficult or whatever Anthony Hopkins says in the second film.
Yeah, we're not called the bloody Michigan difficult division, we're called the impossible division.
Yeah, so difficult should be a walk in the park.
What's his accent in these movies? I can't tell if he's trying to do Anthony Hopkins' voice or if he's like trying to have an American twang to it.
I think that's just, I'm going to take the money and run. that's what that
I think that's exactly what Tony... And Tony, because this came out right after Silence of the Lambs as well. Like this was his, like one of his next projects. It's like, what are you doing, Tony Hopkins? Like he's done shit before. What if he's like, what if like Tom Cruise gets fired and Anthony Hopkins like, and I cast you out, and he's like, I take your hammer.
Anthony Hopkins is the weirdest filmography ever. Like it's so all over the place. Yeah.
Do you prefer him or Alec Baldwin in Fallout as a boss?
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, I think Alec does a better job too. Also because he gets to go on the field, which is cool. To various results as we find out.
Nathan, let's pass that power to the people. Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people. So, Mission Impossible 1 has a critical consensus on the tomato meter of 63%, with an audience score of 71%, so the audience score is actually higher than the critics.
Which I'm happy with those numbers.
Yeah, I am too.
Are you happy with Stephanie Cook from the Rogues Portal?
Oh, we'll find out.
She said, if we're going by a comparison to James Bond, which actually you and I have avoided.
Yeah.
We haven't actually, But while I love a good Bond film, Mission Impossible is miles ahead of that entire franchise in its treatment of female characters.
Whoa, Stephanie.
Wow.
Whoa, Stephanie. Stephanie,
and she wrote that in 2018 as well.
Wow.
May I point out?
Maybe she's talking about the more recent Mission Impossibles.
Even then, there are some glaring issues which we'll get into at once.
Yeah, I agree, but comparatively,
when Tom Cruise when Vanessa Kirby kisses Tom Cruise in the sixth one, you're like, Jesus Christ, like
Stephanie, I don't know if that's a good point, mate. Like.
No, I don't think both franchises are. I think both franchises are horrendous with women.
Agreed.
But Branton, that's a really good point that she raises comparing the two franchises. Like, do you like the Mission Impossible 1 and 2 compared to Bond? Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. I was about to say we shit on Bond, like most of them. Like, this has way more going for it.
Yeah.
But in saying that, they're more recent.
Bond is a better character as well. Ethan Hunt,
yes,
isn't really a character, but that's okay.
Who would win? Ethan Hunt versus James Bond.
Oh, Ethan Hunt.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carol Buckland, top critic from CNN.com, gives us a rotten review saying the set pieces, set in quotation marks, the set pieces of this film come off like clockwork. Well, but there's no connective tissue, no storyline, no solid characterization, etc. In the end, De Palma's work seems full of sound and visual fury without signifying much of anything. Get it? That's a reference to Macbeth. Get it?
I get it.
Did you get that? That's a reference to the Tomorrow speech. Get it?
I've read a Shakespeare.
Got it.
Lick S gave it 3 stars and said, it was alright. Fun to watch.
What have you been licking, Lick S? Anonymous
Lick
gives
S.
it 2.5 stars and said, first one is always the best. That's not...
No, it's
That is not
not.
always true. You can't say Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is the best film of that franchise.
No, it's obviously Chamber.
It is. It actually is.
It is. It is, yeah. I stand by that. But also, like, that's like Batman Begins is better than Dark Knight. It's like, no. It's like,
No.
people who say people who are against sequels, I'm like, fuck off if you're against sequels. Sequels have every opportunity to be better than the first one.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Who would say Thor 1 is better than Ragnarok? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
oh, Brenton, sure.
I'm just fucking with you. It's all good. It's all good.
Jeez, he doesn't want to see Christian Bale as the villain. Jeez. All right. Swellend75 wrote these names. Wrote on YouTube, whoever was capable of stabbing not just one but 2 people through a fence has some exceptional dexterity.
Yeah. Incredible stuff.
They're not wrong. That's an impressive murder. Like,
It really
as
is.
well when it's revealed who the stabbing was.
Also,
and you just see him, like,
she's like a secret agent, and she just fucking gets stabbed like some layman. Like, it's pretty...
through a fence, just set back from the fence. What are you doing?
Rich15 says in movies, air vents are always wide enough for a person to pass with the passages. What? In movies, air vents are always wide enough for a person to pass through the passages, strong enough to support a... Rich15, mate, like, learn how to write, mate. Like, I'm really sorry, but, like, I'm having...
Brenton, it's a YouTube comment with 2 likes.
Fuck me. Like, in movies, air vents are always wide enough for a person to pass through. Passages are always strong enough to support body weight as well. I just fixed it, kind of.
Well done. But he raises a good point that, like, it should have broken. Like,
Hey,
air vents in
could
general.
you imagine that, like, they don't even make it to the the vent opening with the lasers above the room? Like, they just, like, crawling through and they just, like, crash through, like, some random room. Like,
Oh my God.
And everyone just, like the lunchroom where she's, like, poisoning the guy. Like, they just, like, crash through and land on the floor and everyone's like, what the fuck?
That's so awkward. She's sitting way too close to him as well. Like, in a clearly empty cafeteria. Like, it's a bit obvious, isn't it? Like,
He's all like, oh, she likes me. It's like, mate, just calm down. It's all good.
oh my God. Mission Impossible 2. It's got 57% on the critics and 43% from the audiences. Both are far too high, Brenton. Far too high.
I don't know if they're too high, but they're probably around the right mark.
Oh my God. What's Colby Bryant saying?
Colby Bryant from
ColbyBryant.com.
ColbyBryant.com. Colby. Watch it for completionist's sake. I'm going to watch every film that was ever released. Fuck off, Colby.
I mean, we are doing that for Bond, Brenton. Like,
I'm not happy about it either. Watch it for completionist's sake. But in a series with very self-contained entries, this film isn't really necessary or recommended. I mean, he's not wrong.
he's really not wrong at all. And yet, like, that's why we're saying don't watch it. That's why I'm saying don't watch it, Brenton. Cut it out. Just go straight
I'm
to
saying
3.
you can watch it and have a fun time.
Oh, jeez. Antonio Quirk from Independent on Sunday, great title, didn't like it. She wrote, John Woo's Mission Impossible 2 is the biggest film of the year so far, and it's nothing. Nothing at all. No one will like it much. No one will love it.
Yeah, good on you,
I think,
Antonio.
you know what? I think there are fans of this movie. I think, let us know, listeners, if this is your favorite Mission Impossible. Like,
Please
let us
do.
know why.
Felix B gave it 4.5 stars and said must be a really great movie if it can make me forget how fat Cruise was.
Jesus. Was Tom Cruise fat in this movie?
No.
No, he wasn't.
No
Who's
one-
Felix B? Like, what's going on there?
Felix, I'm not sure what you constitute as fat, but mate, stop body shaming.
Aleph M gave it 1.5 stars, and they wrote their review in Spanish. And Brendan, I want to see if you can understand it. It says, "Ese filme es una tragedia."
This film is a tragedy.
Well done, Brendan. Even the Spanish agree.
Yay! AKC says MI2. Ethan was godly, sniping dudes with a handgun while riding a motorcycle at 100 miles per hour. Mission Impossible 2 Ethan wouldn't have lost the bathroom fight in Mission Impossible 6.
He's not wrong.
It's kind of true.
It's not true. And that's an amazing scene in Mission Impossible 6. Like, probably
I
the
agree.
best scene.
I
Like,
agree.
It's insane. But I agree. Mission Impossible 2 level, like, Ethan would have just, like, killed everyone in a heartbeat. Like, he would have, like, blown up the building but still somehow survived the explosion, you know? Like,
Absolutely.
Jerry L. wrote on YouTube, "Good morning, Mr. Hunt. Your mission, should you choose to accept Ethan, no. Movie ends."
I love it. I love it so much.
Which is true. I don't know why they keep
Because
saying...
there was like, should you choose to accept it? It's like, bitch, like, fuck, like, do I have a choice? No.
I'm rock climbing. Like, no, I don't want to do this. Like,
David Curry says, and I got to put on the Bane voice to do this one.
thank you.
Crashing this plane. with no survivors. Get it? Because they crash the plane in the opening scene. Get it?
Oh, it's great. It's a good plane crash as well because the pilot kind of wakes up at the end. He's like, he tries to pull the plane.
I don't know if you can necessarily say any plane crash is good.
The scene was great, Brenton. The scene was great. The crash obviously was not great.
XX says you can always tell when a movie came out pre 9/11.
You really can, can't you? Like, oh,
jeez. But hey, that's Mission Impossible 1 and 2, dude.
Oh my god.
Guys, thank you.
I'm so happy we did it. Thank you for coming along this journey with us.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. It means the world to us. If you can write a review on the podcast app, if you can write a review on anywhere, really, like, we do appreciate it. And we love you guys to interact with us, to tell us what you thought of Mission Impossible 1 and 2. Tell us what you thought of the stills. What are your stills? Let us know. We love to hear from you guys.
And what do you think of the Mission Impossible franchise in general? Like, has this inspired you to marathon through it all, like Brent and I are eventually going to do? Like, has this hyped you up for Mission Impossible 7 and 8?
Absolutely. I want to go through the whole franchise. Like I said, let's do a marathon.
Watch 3, 4, and 5. Then you would have seen all of it. And watch 6 again, because 6 is
I want to watch 6 again. I want to go through, man. I'm ready to go. In fact, let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's go. Where's the tequila? Bum, 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 bum.
Brenton, don't jump out the window. You haven't got your parachute.
Oh, no.